On the one hand, conservatives and even just people who want to kind of live decent lives, I think all have this intuition that like our pop art, a lot of it is really degraded. Like, never mind WAP, like if you've watched like any of Katy Perry's videos recently, especially if you watch the video for like Bon Appetit, which is just like the premise of that song is like my body is meat. You know, that's literally the premise. And so I don't know. I feel on the one hand that most people sort of react to that and realize that there's something missing from that about what art ought to be. And yet at the same time, you know, you also don't want to be that guy who's like, well, harumph, harumph, like no art should ever have nudity in it, you know? And I don't mean to mock, like, obviously parents have concerns about what they show their kids, and we're going to get into that today. And I don't mean to mock people who have concerns about nudity, but there is a certain tight-lipped approach to art that also feels intuitively wrong. And I thought it would be good to do an episode on this question because it's actually one of the oldest questions in the West. It's just that we're not recognizing it as such in a lot of our conversations. So like, for example, the conversation that like some Christians have about whether or not it's okay to watch Game of Thrones, right? Because it's like, we all have these moments where it's like, I really like this. This is like a really good, and I don't just like it like as the way that I like to eat M&Ms. Like I sort of recognize some quality in a show like Game of Thrones, but I also feel a lot of concern, genuine concern about what it's doing to my psyche, like how it's affecting my vision of the world, how it's affecting the way I see women, how it's changing my brain chemistry, right? And these are real worries that it's easy to sort of sniff them off. Like left liberals, like Cardi B, I think said something like, I can't believe conservatives are so mad about WAP. And that, you know, that's like flippant and frivolous and doesn't acknowledge that this is a real problem at the same time as, you know, conservatives can tend to therefore just default to like all art must be squeaky clean. And that produces kind of like bad art, you know, because the thing about art that I'm going to get into is that it actually conveys like certain realities and not all reality is squeaky clean. This is the kind of deeper set of questions that I'm going to try to raise. And it also speaks, of course, to other controversies, like when this movie Cuties came out on Netflix, which was a movie about young girls dancing provocatively, generated a lot of outrage, and rightly so. But also a lot of conversation about, well, like, you know, the defense of it was, well, it's critiquing this by showing it. And yet everybody was appalled, you know, again, most people with sort of just normal sensibilities, I feel like, was appalled at the exploitation of these young girls in the name of art. And so these ethical issues get very, very complicated. And in fact, the one of the first things that is said about this when people start to think about artistic criticism recognizes exactly this problem. So I want to start there and just show to you that this is something that is like really at the heart of literary and artistic criticism in the West.